How's it going, everybody? Matt Diamond with Kalshi. Today we're talking about trading inflation. I know I've done a video before about how the market was going to react to the inflation numbers, trading the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500, but today we're going to focus on very specific inflation event contracts. As you'll see to the left, these are the ones that we're going to focus on. The U.S. annual core inflation, U.S. annual inflation, the U.S. core inflation year over year, U.S. inflation, and U.S. inflation year over year. And we're going to keep it very simple. We're going to trade these contracts based on three different ways. You believe inflation is going to go up, it's going to increase. You believe inflation is going to come down, it's going to decrease. Or you're not 100% certain, and what you're going to do is use the forecast tool on the back of Kalshi. And here's how the forecast numbers are calculated. They are the weighted average of the market prices, the example below. If our markets think there's a 30% chance that the inflation will be 1%, a 40% chance that inflation will be 2%, and a 30% chance that inflation will be 3%, then the forecast would be 0.3 multiplied by 1 plus 0.4 multiplied by 2 plus 0.3 multiplied by 3. But no need to overthink it. Just remember, it is the weighted average of the market prices. So let's go into the first event contract, which is going to be the U.S. annual core inflation. And you can see right here that it's pricing it in at 3% to 3.9. But we think that it's going to increase. You have a belief that inflation is only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So what you would want to do to keep it very simple is any of these ranges that are above that 3% to 3.9, because we think it's going to increase, we would want to trade those yes shares. And now to go into the next one, U.S. annual inflation being priced in at 3% to 3.9%. We believe inflation is going to increase. So a simple way to structure this trade is trading the yes shares on any of these percentages that are higher than that 3% to 3.9%. And now the next one, so the U.S. core inflation, and this one's going to be pretty simple because if we believe that it's going to increase in any way at all, then a very simple trade would be the yes shares on above 0.1%. And now the next one, U.S. core inflation year over year, and keeping this one very simple as well. If we believe that it's going to increase at all, a very simple trade would be to trade the yes shares on above 4.2%. They're currently trading at 93 cents, have a high probability of being the outcome. Now the next one on the list, U.S. inflation. And we're going to go based off the fact that we believe it's going to increase. And if so, keeping these trades very simple. Above 0.5%, we would want to trade these yes shares. Right now they're at 77 cents. And this is the highest probability of them paying out. The last one on the list, the U.S. inflation year over year. And we believe that it's going to increase. That's our opinion on the situation. Above 3.5%, trading the yes shares on these at 88 cents have a high probability of paying out. And now we'll go through all these event contracts and we'll take the opposite side of the situation. So we have an opinion that we do not think inflation is going to increase. It's going to decrease and come in a bit. So a very simple way to structure these trades is all of these high numbers, which would mean that inflation would be increased. We can trade the no shares on if our opinion is that inflation is not going to increase. So this 4% to the 4.9%, even the ones a little bit higher, we'd want to trade the no shares because our belief is that inflation is going to come down, not up. And now the next one, so U.S. annual inflation, anything that's going to be a higher number, we'd want to trade the no shares. So this 4% to 4.9, trading the no shares to the upside would be a good way at expressing our opinion that we do not believe inflation is going to increase. And now the next one on the list, the U.S. core inflation. So anything that's going to be a high number above this 0.3% would want to trade the no shares. These are going to be very simple trades to structure if you do not believe inflation is going to increase. So that was this one, making sure to trade these no shares. And then we'll go down to the next one. U.S. core inflation year over year. Anything that's going to be a higher number, trading the no shares. So the example here would be on the 4.4, the no shares at 86 cents. Going to the next one, U.S. inflation above 0.7% because we don't believe inflation is going to increase. So very simple trade here. Trade the no shares at 91 cents. And then the last one on the list, U.S. inflation year over year. Anything that's going to be a high number and above some of these lower percentages, we would want to trade the no shares to the upside. So those are some good examples on how to structure those trades based on your opinion if you believe inflation is going to increase or if you believe it's going to decrease. Now let's use the forecast tool on the back of Kalshi, starting with the first one. U.S. annual core inflation. We click on that event contract. We go into forecast, and we're simply just going to use this to play the probabilities in our favor. 79% chance, 3 to 3.9%. So an easy way to structure this trade is the yes shares on that 3% to 3.9%. And now the next one, the US annual inflation. Click on the event contract, go into forecast. There is a 64% chance it's going to be that 3 to 3.9%. So very simple way to structure this, the 3% to the 3.9%, trading the yes shares on this contract. Going into the next one, US core inflation. Click on the forecast button. Even though it's not a very high percentage, the best percentage based out of all of these right now in the US core inflation is a 42% chance at 0.25 to 0.35. So some of the ways to structure this trade will be to trade the yes shares on the above 0.1% and above 0.2%. Those are clearly in your favor. And now the US core inflation year over year, clicking on the forecast, 40% chance, 4.3 to 4.4. So a simple way to structure this will be to trade the yes shares on above 4.2 and the yes shares on above 4.3. And now US inflation, clicking on that event contract, going into the forecast, 38% chance, 0.65 to 0.75%. So a pretty simple way to structure this trade would be the yes shares on above 0.5% and above 0.6%. Now the last one, US inflation year over year, clicking on the event contract, going into the forecast, it says a 36% chance at 3.6 to 3.7. So a pretty simple way to structure this is the yes shares on above 3.5% and above 3.6%, which are clearly in your favor. So those are some good examples on how to trade the inflation number on 3 different ways. You think that inflation is going to go up, you think it's going to go down, or you're just using the forecast tool on the back of Kalshi. So that was it for the video. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.